today you will be working towards the goal of stating a theme and providing an example of that theme in action. At the bottom corner here, we have a very similar prompt that you will be looking at today. Remember, a prompt is another word for question. And then there'll be some language support here that you can always pause the video and use for your benefit when it's time for you to write your own response. So let's break it down. Remember, these are the themes that we went over yesterday: growth, conflict, oppression, resistance, and compromise. Let's take a look at the prompt in depth. Select a theme. Define the theme you choose, then provide a personal or general example of the theme. So, how do I meet standard for this prompt? I need to define the theme where I clearly state the theme I'm talking about, and I need to provide a personal or general example. So, what does it look like or sound like when that theme is in action? And then my response needs to have 2 or less grammatical errors. Here we have an example. Let's take a look at this example in depth. So remember yesterday you studied the word growth. You did some practice around growth. So let's take a look at the example. A sample example is growth is when something or someone gets bigger. For example, most students and animals grow over time. Another instance that comes to mind is how my shoe collection has increased over time. You see, the color coordination shows how each part of the rubric is addressed with the student response. So it's defined in the first sentence, and there are 2 sentences that provide examples. So clearly this student went above and beyond, but clearly shows that they know what growth means. Okay, so let's practice 1. How would you score this response? Growth is when something or someone gets bigger. For example, growth happens when things expand in size. Okay, this example is an approaching standard. And the caution that is highlighted in this student sample is that the student repeats a definition twice. Remember, a definition is different than an example. This student wrote a definition twice. The student also has a grammatical error with the for, but that still meets standard. The grammatical piece meets standard, but this student earned approaching because they did not provide an example. So this is a non-example. Feel free to pause the video now to reread it to yourself. I want to give you one more example to help deepen your understanding. Let's take a look at oppression. Same prompt, same rubric. Here's an example. Oppression is when a person uses their power to unjustly treat another. For instance, the Nazis murdered and abused many Jews when they had power in Europe. The Nazis oppressed the Jews. So the theme is clearly called out. It is defined in the first sentence, and an example with Nazis and Jews is provided. This clearly shows that the student understands what oppression means. Try it on your own. Here's another one. Let's take a look at this example. This is from a student. Press pause to read through if you need to. This is a below standard. This student has quite a few errors, does not clearly introduce the theme, refers to a pronoun it, and then it has 3 grammatical errors. It, the ed is missing from treated, and there's a period missing for the second statement. In addition to both of those details, the biggest problem is that both sentences lack clarity and specificity. So this student did not go back and visit the oppression slide. It doesn't clearly explain that oppression is used through power when someone abuses power, right? And the second sentence is it has so much potential. The problem is the student did not clearly explain what happened to George Floyd and how is that oppression. This is another non-example.